The dark web, exploring the hidden dimensions of the internet. Everything has changed because of the internet, from how we work to how we play to how we live. It looks like everyone has a place on the internet. No matter what you're interested in or what you believe, there's someone or something out there who agrees with you. The internet has brought us together in ways that no one could have thought of before. It's a place where people from all over the world can meet. Most of what's on the internet is stuff you don't even know exists. You can find anything you want on the internet, whether it's a service or a product, legal or not, good or not. You can use this in a good or bad way. Similar to how we all use the public web every day. We can use the dark web's websites, platforms, and services, but they are hidden behind a layer of security. Under the top, there is a nest of dark, secret things that can't be seen by anyone else. The dark web is where people go to do illegal things online, and it has a lot more depth than you might think. It's a place where crooks, predators, spies, drug dealers, and even people traffickers hide. Everything is out in the open. If you wanted to, you could get to it in a few minutes. But if you do, the internet can be broken up into 3 different groups. The first is the surface web. This includes everything you use every day, like YouTube, Twitter, and any other social media. All of this is part of the international web. You can find just about anything on the open web. Google and other search tools can find almost anything. This leads to 70,000 Google searches and almost 100,000 YouTube movie views. The surface web seems very big, and in terms of traffic, it is. You can find almost everything you need here. You can look up any person and find out something about their life. But you can't find stuff like their bank account or medical records. These things are hidden on websites that only they can get to because they need a password. Here is where we go deep into the internet. The deep web is the part of the internet where you can find things that search engines don't know about. Basically, it's on the deep web if you can't find it on Google. You've been on the deep web if you've ever logged into your email. Technically, the deep web is not as cool as it sounds, which I know might be a little upsetting. It's not much different from the public web, except that it's a bit more secret. However, the deep web is the biggest part of the internet. The deep web is where 96% of everything on the internet is found. So even if you went online every day for the next 50 years and looked at new websites, you wouldn't even scratch the surface of the amount of information on the internet. There's just too much to go through, and most of it is locked down. But even further and deeper than the deep web is the part of the web where things don't leave. This is the smallest part of the internet. Websites that are encrypted to hide the fact that they exist, and websites without IP addresses that make them almost impossible to find can only be accessed by people who use encrypted software to hide their identities fully. But how exactly does this work? How can you hide from everyone else something that almost everyone can use? If you're looking at pages on the open web, the FBI man is probably watching you. Alright? Not really, but for most people, everything they do online can and will be tracked in some way. Many websites will keep track of what you search for and look at, and then they'll show you ads for goods or services that fit that profile. This is not a new idea. This is something that Facebook, Amazon, and most other social media sites do. They sell your information to advertisers all over the world, and you agree to this in those terms and conditions that you didn't read. This isn't a chance, and it doesn't happen by accident. No one was meant to be anonymous on the internet. Some people think this is a privacy invasion. Some people don't see anything wrong with it, but how far can we let this go before it gets bad? Strangely enough, the US government also thought this. They wanted a way to keep their online interactions safe more than 20 years ago. Since the internet wasn't made so that everyone and everything could stay anonymous, anyone could listen in on government messages as they were being sent, which was wrong. So, around the middle of the 1990s, scientists at the US Naval Research Laboratory started working on a project called onion routing. Onion routing protects any data that is sent by encrypting it in multiple layers, with the original message in the last layer. Think about it this way. Let's say you need to get a word from here to here, but you have to go through 3 middle points to get there. They will be called A, B, and C. The message is then encrypted in 3 different ways. Each layer knows only where the message came from before and where it needs to go next. At each midpoint, a layer of encryption is taken away, and the information in the next layer tells the message where to go next. With this kind of encryption, data can be sent to and from more than one place without being easy to steal in between. Only those who are meant to see because of onion roots. There can be darknets like Tor. The darknet will work with networks like the internet, but you will need special tools to get to them. The Onion router is what Tor stands for. It's a piece of software named after the technology that made it possible. It looks like a normal web browser, but Tor and other similar dark nets give you access to websites that aren't open to the public. The tools and conditions you need to use the dark web are enough to get people from all over the world to use it. Links to pages don't look like they come from YouTube.com. Instead, they usually look like random lines of characters that end with notin.com, notin.org. But you won't be able to get to these pages if you try to use a regular web browser. But it will when you use Tor. The dark web is here. At least, this is the first step into the secret wiki. You can look at a list of the hundreds of secret services available on the dark web. There are fake US driver's licenses, visas, and ID cards out there. You can find weapons that aren't allowed. There are drugs around. On the dark web, web markets are very popular, just like they are on the open web. Now, I don't think you should do any of these things, but here's how you could buy things from places on the dark web. It doesn't make much sense to use standard ways to pay on the dark web. Using things like credit cards makes it easy to find out who did it. Virtual money is the best. Because Bitcoin is almost private, it can be used in this way. Its use with other cryptocurrencies is key for any anonymous trade to work. Make a Bitcoin wallet and buy some Bitcoin with some of your cash. Now that you have your secret money, you can do almost anything with it. When people think of the dark web, one of the first things that comes to mind is the large number of sites that sell illegal drugs and other similar items. In 2011, a dark web market called Silk Road opened for business. Since then, the name, Silk Road, has almost come to mean dark web. Here, you could buy any kind of illegal drug you could imagine. People from all over the world sold everything from weed to coke. If drugs aren't your thing, they also sell DMT and LSD. They also sold guns, fake money, and some books that were wrapped in clothes. But in October 2013, the FBI took over the site and shut it down. It had only been up and running for 2 years. In just 2 years, from 2011 to 2013, Silk Road made more than 9.5 million bitcoins in sales. Now, this is a bit of a stretch, but if you sold these bitcoins at their peak price in 2017, which was about $20,000, you would have made over $187 billion in just 2 years. Silk Road and other dark web markets helped Bitcoin grow a lot in 2011. When the Silk Road was formed, Bitcoin was worth less than $1, but since the dark web needs a decentralized currency, Bitcoin was a great choice. To be honest, Bitcoin wouldn't be where it is today without a little bit of illegal behavior. Ross Ulbricht, who created the site, was found and arrested in 2013. This is why the site was shut down in the end. He got 2 life sentences and 40 years in jail, with no chance of getting out. And I think this is kind of unfair because, even though there is a lot of illegal behavior on the dark web, it's not as big as many people say it is. Many of the bigger services end up being shut down, either by the local government or by the FBI. But where there's a need, there's always a way to meet it. Many of the individuals who created and ran these websites also committed crimes, according to Ross Ulbricht's conviction. But none of these people were sentenced to life in jail. Instead, their sentences were much shorter. Even if you never go to the dark web or don't even know it exists, it still affects you. Data leaks and breaches happen quite often these days. If your information was saved in a company's database that was broken into, it could be sold somewhere on the dark web, where anyone with access to it could buy it. Let me help you decide how to spend your money if you don't know yet. People can sell their social security numbers for as little as $1. Every US citizen gets this, and it can be used to steal someone else's name. Botnets are also not too expensive. With a distributed denial of service, or DDoS, attack, You can take down almost any website or service for a short time for as little as a few dollars an hour. Anyone or any business that is attacked by these botnets can be badly hurt by them. Someone has probably done this to you if you've ever played video games online. For as little as $50, you can also buy someone's medical records. There are also credit cards that have been stolen for sale. Just buy one, charge it up, and don't pay the bill. A lot of this information can't even be bought. There are websites that leak information about leaders and famous people. And even normal people like you and me, and there's not much you can do about it. But there are even darker things that can be done on the dark web that are even worse. Several hitman outfits say they can kill just about anyone in the world. You want it for less than $5,000. Many of these turned out to be fake. But even if these are fake, the fact that there are people who trust random people on the internet to do real killings is, to say the least, disturbing. There are also services that sell real human parts. Child pornography is a big part of this, even though I don't want to accept it. Some sites, like Lolita City and Playpen, have been shut down, but at their busiest times, they had more than 200,000 users. This is just a small glimpse into this deep and dark part of the internet. Since there are no rules, anything can happen here. The deeper you go, the scarier the things you'll find. However, even with all of these scary things on the dark web, the US government still pays for about half of all tours. Which is really surprising when you think about how the dark web is known. A lot of the people who have been arrested and sent to jail for doing illegal things on the dark web don't even look like they could be dangerous. But if you can run a drug business online or hire hitmen for a few bitcoins without putting yourself in danger, you might not need to be. You could see these people walking down the street. These are the people behind you in line at the store. They look like normal people, and if you didn't know what they were, you wouldn't even be able to tell what they were. People think of the dark web as a huge criminal underworld where millions of the worst people in society hang out. It has been said that there are only 2 to 10,000 of these hidden services on the dark web, and that only a little more than half of them have illegal content. This is partly true, but not fully. But you can't take these numbers as facts because services that are well hidden are made to be hidden. Less than 6% of Tor users actually use the secret services on these few thousand websites. 100,000 people use the dark web out of the billions of people who use the internet. Only a few thousand of the billions of websites that exist are illegal. No one should be surprised that not everyone is as honest as they seem, but that's the risk you take. That's what you have to pay for it. Even though there are bad parts of the web, there are also parts that help the rest of the world. The government blocks obscene content on the internet in many countries around the world. Most of the time, governments' the dark web is a safe place where there is no censorship. This lets people see the truth in many cases that they would never have seen otherwise. It gives people a place where they can talk about and report on important things without having to worry about being shut down or even getting hurt. Many of the biggest news networks offer services on the dark web so that people can share information without worrying about being caught or made fun of in public. But, to be honest, everyone puts their whole lives on the internet now. 10 or 15 years ago, this would have been crazy and, well, stupid. But now, in a way, it seems pretty normal. We're slowly giving up our privacy on the internet, but the dark web helps us keep some of it. It's a way for people to regain their privacy and identity. It's up to them whether they use this in a good or bad way. Even though most of the drugs offered on the dark web are illegal, some of them can be helpful. Thanks for watching.